Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Inclusion Works Lunch and Learn. Our topic today is the Windmills Disability Awareness Training Program. Before we get started, here are a few reminders about the webinar. Please make sure you're using a computer or smartphone connected to the internet, and the audio function is on and the volume is turned up. Please be sure your microphone is muted for the duration of the webinar. To ask questions, use the Q&A feature located on your control panel, and we will answer as many questions as time allows toward the end of the presentation. American Sign Language interpreters and closed captioning options are available for today's event. The American Sign Language interpreters for today are Danette Steelman-Bridges and Susan King-Lanier. For closed captioning options, select the closed caption feature located on your control panel. To adjust your video layout and screen view, select the View feature located in the top right-hand corner of your screen and choose the view that works best for you. Today's agenda topics include introductions and an overview of the Windmills Disability Awareness Training Program. There will also be time for questions after the presentation. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Claire Colligan, IDD Employment Lead for the IDD, TBI, and Olmsted section of the Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services.
Thank you, Dina. Good morning, everybody. I guess good afternoon. I'm so happy to see that so many people are joining us today. I'm very excited today to be able to give you a really exciting presentation on the Windmills program. And for that, we have Christy Brinson, who is with the Division of Employment and Independence for People with Disabilities, EIPD, and she is a program specialist for business engagement at EIPD. And Christy has many, many years of experience in this area, and we are really proud to have her here. So welcome, Christy.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to be here with everyone, and excited to share with you about Windmills Disability Awareness Training. Next slide, please. Again, my name is Christy Brinson. I'm the program specialist for business engagement with the Division of Employment and Independence for People with Disabilities. I have been with the agency for, I think about 15 years. Time starts running away from me. And I love being with our agency and serving individuals with disabilities and helping employers across North Carolina recognize the value that they bring to the workplace. One personal reason I love what we do is that my mother had a disability. She had panic disorder, and panic attacks really created some challenges for her as she was working. But 40, 50 years ago, she was able to work with an employer that really was open to having communication and helping support her to be successful on the job. And she was able to retire after 34 years with the same agency. So as a young child and a teenager and all, I got to see the personal side of that on both sides, how it affected my mother, and also how the employer, that valuable communication was just life-changing for her. So today I want to kind of give you an overview of the Windmills Disability Awareness Training Program. It is in hot demand across North Carolina. And when we present this to employers across the state, it really is eye-opening to most of the individuals, staff members that we present to. Really changes their mindset. And we move from that negative stigma of having someone with a disability in the workplace to a more positive thoughts and open communication after hearing more about Windmills. So next slide, please. So today, like I said, I'm going to give you an overview of Windmills, and then I think this PowerPoint will be available if anyone is interested, and you'll also have my contact information. We as an agency provide this service of disability awareness training to all employers and agencies across North Carolina at no cost. So once employers find out about this training and the value that it brings to their place of business, we get lots of requests. One other way that we share this training is during COVID, we had to become creative in how we were presenting our services. So we started providing windmills to the public once a quarter. And so our next module that we will be presenting to the public will be in October during National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And we'll be glad to share that link and flyer with you to join us. We will actually be presenting the module, The Encounter, where we will have a panel of individuals with disabilities, and you or anyone attending are able to ask any question that you want to those individuals. And what I truly love about our disability awareness training is that it's a safe space for anyone to ask any question that they've always wanted to ask and not feel judged or be embarrassed by those questions. And so today I want you to feel as comfortable to putting your questions in the Q&A or even emailing me. I'll be glad to provide some guidance as best I can. But really, Windmills is about shifting perspectives on disability. Next slide, please. So the program, like I said, it helps to change that negative stigma about disability to a more positive approach. And so I want to take a moment and just ask you, what comes to mind when you hear the word disability? Now, you all may be more positive about that term, but I want you to think about maybe the first time you heard the word disability. Maybe when you are approaching other individuals, or maybe even heard friends or family or colleagues talk about someone with a disability. What has come to mind when you hear that word? And if you could, I'd love, is the chat open for comments? I forgot to ask that.
The Q&A is
The
open.
Q&A, okay. So if you do put a comment in, it will go to the Q&A, correct?
That's correct. We just have the Q&A open, and we're looking to be able to answer everyone's questions at the end of the presentation.
Okay. So I'm not for sure about you, but I know when we present windmills to employers and partner agencies and their staff, a lot of times when we ask what comes to mind when you hear the word disability, some of the top responses are usually negative. It's liability. I'm not sure if they can do the job, or they're scared to work with someone that has a disability. And it's all this negative comments. And when we finish presenting windmills, a module, whichever module it is, that perception has changed. So we have shifted those negative thoughts and ideas and change that to a more positive perception of working and hiring someone with a disability. And people start to see that there is a lot of value with someone that has a disability and what they bring to the workplace. You know, I mentioned about my mother having a disability, and her employer saw the value that she brought to the workplace. So one of the biggest challenges for her was with her panic disorder. If she was around a large crowd, she would pass out. It would cause that tremendous medical issue for her, and it would give the appearance that she was having a heart attack when she wasn't. So she was a head buyer for a grocery food distribution center. And so being a head buyer, she was at the hub of all the action and all the staff and everything going on. So when she consistently kept having these major panic attacks that caused her to pass out, it really drained her. So she would need to go home, or either her supervisor or someone would need to call for medical care. And of course, they would call me and I would go support her. What we loved is that her supervisor stepped up and said, "How can I support you? What can I do to make your job better for you?" And so she felt safe and said, "I have a panic disorder, and being in large crowds causes this severe medical panic attacks for me, which a lot of times I end up passing out." And so what she requested was a very simple accommodation. And she asked for her office to be moved from the hub of all the action down the hall in the corner where it was quiet. Now, her supervisor at first thought, "I hate to do that and put her down the hall in the corner away from everything." But guess what? That worked for her. And thankfully, that conversation was a game changer for her. And she was able to be moved down the hall where it was quiet, and she took care of business. And she was able to successfully finish her career at that place of business for after 34 years and retired. And because that open communication was there, to find out what worked best for her, that really led to her success. And so windmills is very similar when we are presenting this to employers and partnering agencies. It's about making your staff feel comfortable and coming to you to talk about what their needs are if they have a disability and it's affecting them performing their job task. The more that we can make this a safe space and culture in the workplace for inclusion, you are going to end up with some very valuable employees and very loyal, trusting employees that have a strong work ethic. And honestly, that's really hard to find today, at least from the comments by the employers I've spoke with. So next slide, please. So the Windmills program was written by it was written and developed, by Dr. Richard Pimentel. I've had the honor of being trained by him. I'm a certified Windmills trainer through him, and got the opportunity to train with him before COVID, a few years before COVID. And he's a remarkable man who advocates for individuals with disabilities. And I'm going to share with you in just a moment a movie trailer that I hope that you will get an opportunity to check out the movie of his story and how windmills came about, because it is very impactful. What I love about his training is that he is welcome to making changes over the years as things change, and try to improve how we present windmills. But I think right now he's even writing a module to help support neurodiverse individuals in the workplace. So he listens to what the needs are from across the nation, and tries to help improve those modules or add on modules. So we are really excited about that new module coming out. Now, when we present windmills, it is disability awareness training. And so I do work for an agency that supports and helps individuals with disabilities, but it doesn't mean I'm a subject matter expert. And so we remind everyone that we may not have all the answers, but we are willing to help find you the resources and individuals that can support your need. And also we remind everybody that when we are presenting windmills, that there are individuals that may be participating or attending an event that has a disability, and that this information may be sensitive to them. So we want to keep that in mind anytime that we do present windmills. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this training is really about providing businesses with what we call the tools to help them have an inclusive workplace, because we do want every employee have the opportunity to succeed, whether you have a disability or not. It just means we may perform the job duties differently, but we can still get the job done. And so there are 12 training modules at this time that an employer can choose from for their staff that we can present to. So we have a team of business relations representatives covering all 100 counties from our agency, and this is one of the services that they provide employers within their county. And when an employer reaches out and shares that they would like to host a windmills training, we usually meet with those supervisors to kind of get an idea of maybe some challenges that they've had in the workplace, or maybe some areas or topics that they feel like would really benefit their team. And so we tailor that training specifically to the needs of that employer. So sometimes we present only one module. Sometimes we present several modules in a half-day training, or sometimes we're there for a day. So, for example, coming up soon, I'll be presenting to Goodwill. I think it's managers in the western part of the state, and it'll be a one-day event where we are presenting in person 4 different modules that their management team felt like would, or their leadership team felt like managers could benefit from. So again, we just tailor those requests to whatever the needs are for that specific employer. So next slide, please. So again, the name of the movie that was made on Dr. Richard Pimentel is called The Music Within. I think it is found on, Prime and Hulu, from my understanding. So if you do get an opportunity to watch the movie, I believe that you will find it as impactful as our staff and our team does. So what I wanted to do is take a moment and share the movie trailer with you. So I'm gonna let you all launch that movie trailer.
Funny how things happen. Only in hindsight do you realize how something can change your entire life.
I need volunteers to stay behind. This is your chance to be a hero.
I always wanted to be a hero.
They're coming! Ah! Ah!
I was deaf.
I can't authorize government funds to send you to college. You're deaf.
What? It's a deaf joke.
We cannot plan the events that shape us.
Look like you have a coke problem. May I?
You better wash your hands. This may be contagious. You want to sit down, Einstein?
Yeah, sure.
We cannot predict the moments that define us.
I think you two need to leave. You're making the other customers very uncomfortable.
He's very sorry for turning your customers' stomachs. That's obviously your job.
You guys can leave, or I can call the police.
Call him.
You okay?
Next time, use a blinker.
But we can all change the world around us.
I'm deaf, but I can see what you're saying from over there. My friend is not a retard. He's got cerebral palsy. See, it affects his motor skills. It means that his brain is perfectly functioning while his body's more or less useless. Think of it as the opposite of you.
You don't need to change their minds about people's disabilities. You need to change their minds about themselves.
This fall
What is it that you're afraid of? That he can't work with you or that you can't work with him?
comes the story of a man
The U.S. government wants me to create a program on hiring the disabled. I'll be training every agency, CIA, NASA, all of them.
who gave a voice to the voiceless
You don't have a clue how good this is.
and hope to the forgotten.
Americans with Disabilities Act says that you can't discriminate against people simply because they don't look like you.
The differences that you make, the ones of lasting importance, they're the little differences that you make in the life of another person.
Music Within.
Thank you for sharing that movie trailer. And again, if you get an opportunity to watch the movie, I think you will truly love it. It's very impactful. It is the true story about Dr. Richard Pimentel, and I continue to get to meet with him monthly and work on improvements to the Windmills training program. So how can Windmills really help the organizations that we go out and meet with, the employers? So many employers, today they are, sometimes we don't really know our staff as well as we think we should. And so there may be some biases or myths that we tend to naturally have, and that creates some barriers in the hiring process. So the Windmills training program, some of the modules help change that perception and help change that those biases, and also knocks out those myths that a lot of times we tend to find out as we are meeting with different people across the state. They'll think that disabilities affect someone a certain way when it may not. So that training really helps focus on attitudes and, like I said, those human factors that tend to be natural, but we try to help address those concerns. And the modules that we present are relevant to the everyday work today, and really helps to relate disability awareness to the actual jobs and the individuals that are being considered for employment. Now, the program for Windmills, it also incorporates the language that is required for from the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, one thing that I loved about the movie that you'll get to see is that Dr. Richard Pimentel was very instrumental in the changing of, at his time, the gentleman that you saw in the movie that had cerebral palsy, that was in a wheelchair, the restaurant scene that was in the movie, he shares with you that to get his friend to that restaurant, he had to pull that wheelchair up all the steps, and he had to physically hold that door and try to pull him into the restaurant. And then the negativity that was received within the restaurant. But that movie is going to share with you the impact that Dr. Richard Pimentel had by advocating for the access to restaurants, to the automatic doors, things of that nature that have been game changers within buildings and public libraries and restaurants and everything. And it's amazing how he really had a heart for changing the game up. But part of that was he lost his hearing in one side, I think it was the left side, when he was in the war. And that just kind of led and started his mission for advocating for people with disabilities. Next slide, please. All right, so we want you to just take a moment. I want you to think of how often we unintentionally assume what someone can or can't do based on how they look or communicate. And the Windmills helps us slow down and rethink that. Yes, I work for an agency that advocates for people with disabilities and helps them find employment. But sometimes even our own staff, we have to remind ourselves that when we're working with a client that we're serving, to make sure that we don't unintentionally assume that someone can't do a job. Because sometimes it does happen. And so we have to make sure that we stop and think about what we are doing in our own workplace as we are trying to help those that we serve be successful with their career path. Next slide. All right, so the 12 modules that I'll kind of highlight today, just to give you a quick about each one. The 12 are listed here. So it's the story, Ask It Basket, Rumor Game, Profiles, New Perceptions in Disability, Encounter, Whose Fault, Reasonable Accommodations, Disability Factor Fiction, Traumatic Brain Injuries, Taking the Emotion Out of Emotional Disabilities, and the Calendar Game. Now, what I've done is I've highlighted the most requested modules that we have been asked to present for the past at least 3 years. These that are highlighted are the ones that we are always asked statewide to present, and these are the most popular. But we are certified trainers and can present any of the modules that are listed here. So now we're going to kind of just dive in a little bit and just share a quick highlight with you of each one, just to give you an idea as an overview of what these modules are. So next slide, please. So the first one I want to talk about is called The Story. And it's usually lasts about 30 to 45 minutes long, and we use it as an introduction a lot of times for windmills. And this module definitely will challenge how quickly we form opinions about someone's ability. And when we present this module, a lot of times people walk away recognizing that we all know someone that has a disability. It might be a family member, a friend, a colleague, or we may also have a disability and we've just been kind of quiet about it. But it really changes that perception, because everybody deserves an opportunity to thrive in life. And when you start recognizing that that person could be you in the blink of an eye, or it could be your family member, or your children, it could be a colleague, or even any kind of friends, it changes your mindset that, yes, I want them to succeed in life. So no, I don't want them mistreated. And I want them to have every opportunity just like anyone else. So that module, The Story, again, is often requested, and we use it as an introduction for our Windmills program. Next slide. The second module I'll highlight with you is the rumor game. It is it's presented quite often. It's not the most highly requested one, but it does challenge your assumptions, because everybody's familiar with what happens with a rumor, right? The story changes, but it can have such a negative impact whenever that rumor involves someone with a disability, and it can cause it can really have a major negative impact to someone in the workplace, and because they're being misjudged. And you're also, you're hurting that individual if you're gossiping or sharing something about that individual that really shouldn't be. The rumor game lasts about 30 minutes. And so I put the time down because that helps us when we're meeting with employers and partners, trying to figure out if we can present modules in a certain time frame. All right, our next slide, the next module I want to highlight with you, the third one, is Profiles. And in this one, we really confront head-on judgments about hiring decisions. And so what we do is, in this module, we are asking the audience, the ones that are attending the training, to match up a job with a certain disability. And what our goal is for people to recognize that's not what you do. You don't match a job to a disability, because you're already discriminating against that individual. Don't automatically assume someone can't perform that job. They may can perform the job, but just need a few accommodations. So Profiles has a real impact when we get to the end of it. When we present this one, it's usually about an hour, and we get a lot of feedback on this one. It really strengthens inclusive thinking. Okay, our next module to highlight, our fourth one, fixing to pop up there. It's called New Perceptions in Disability. It used to be called Pick a Disability. So the new name changed because nationally, the training was receiving some negative feedback about the title, because it does seem like that we are being judgmental and discriminatory when we're talking about picking a disability. So the title was changed to New Perceptions in Disability. And really that module is discussion based, and it helps challenge the individuals in the training to really examine their views of a specific disability. All right, and I didn't put the time frame on it, but we usually present it in about an hour. All right, our next module to highlight, our fifth one, it is Encounter. And this is the one that this module we will be presenting as an agency during the month of October for National Disability Employment Awareness Month. This is a very interactive session. A lot of people enjoy it because it does help individuals that are in the attending the training to feel more confident and relaxed, because it is a safe space to ask any question that you want to ask related to that individual. So usually on our panel, we'll have someone from the deaf and hard of hearing community, someone with a physical disability, a mental health impairment, all types of disabilities, and have a few questions ahead of time to get things rolling, or our team does. And then usually it opens the door up because attendees start thinking about, I'd really like to know, say for instance, we have had individual on our team that has cerebral palsy, is in a wheelchair, and uses a assistive technology device to speak as he types in the information. And so he enjoys being on the panel because he is an amazing employee that I can't keep up with. He keeps me on my toes with work, but he loves getting questions because he wants you to know that he may perform the job differently. He may need to speak through an assistive technology device, but he can get the job done. So ask him any question that you want, and he's gotten a lot of great questions. So Encounter is not our most requested module that we present, but it is a very valuable module that people truly enjoy. It lasts about an hour also. Our next module to highlight with you is our sixth module, and the title of it is called Whose Fault? Now, with this one, we're actually providing you a scenario in the workplace and an example, and we're going to demonstrate to you how the miscommunication actually impacts the workplace, and it negatively affects the individual with the disability in the workplace. Miscommunication, as you know, whether you have a disability or not, can create a lot of havoc. And so in this module, we, like I said, share an example, a scenario with you, several actually, and let you help brainstorm some ideas on how we could have protected that miscommunication. That module lasts about an hour as well. Okay, our next module, the seventh one that I want to highlight for you. I guess I jumped ahead of myself. So, but I do like to make this point when we are presenting an overview of windmills and everything. It really isn't about having the right answer. It's about seeing things through a new lens. So you're not alone if you've been making assumptions or if you've made assumptions. We want everybody to understand that it is natural. We all have done it. We just want to help keep it on the forefront of your mind when you start interviewing and considering individuals to hire at your place of business. We want that mindset to change. Okay, so next slide. So our next module, this one is a highly requested module. It's entitled Reasonable Accommodations. We make this very interactive because what we do with this module is that we actually provide you with different scenarios. We provide you a job title and the task, And then we provide you with a specific individual with a specific disability. And we ask, what kind of accommodations do you feel like that person would need for that specific role? And so we'll get all kinds of ideas because we all have our own thoughts on a specific disability. But the ultimate goal when we finish that module is to help everyone understand that the best way to really support an individual with a disability, if they need an accommodation, is to simply ask them, what do you need? Again, I share with you about my mother that had a panic disorder. So the accommodation that worked for her was the office down the hallway where it was quiet. But we don't want supervisors and employers to think, well, the next person that staff member I have that has a panic disorder, I'm just going to move them down the hall because that's what they need. Because that's not what that person may need. Everybody's story is different. Their disability affects them differently. So it's really important to find out what that individual needs to perform their job well. And the best person to know is that person. So ask them, what can I do to help support you? And so reasonable accommodations, again, is a very highly requested module. It lasts about an hour. And then we also share the resource called Ask Jan, which is the Job Accommodation Network. It is a free online website resource that our own staff utilizes. It is a huge resource to help support both employers and individuals with disabilities in their job. Okay, our next module to highlight on the next slide, it is entitled Disability Fact or Fiction. So this one is kind of like giving you a quiz. We are providing you some comments for you to determine whether it's fact or whether it's fiction. So you're kind of learning a little bit about respectful etiquette in the workplace, and also kind of like the ADA law a little bit in this module. It lasts about 45 minutes, and most of the time people walk away with feeling a lot more comfortable about awareness of etiquette in the workplace. Okay, so our next module on the next slide to highlight, it is entitled TBI for Traumatic Brain Injuries. And what this module will do, it basically helps those that are attending that training to learn about what a traumatic brain injury is, and then help them understand that sometimes their assumptions or beliefs may not quite be accurate, because traumatic brain injuries do affect each of us differently and our job performances. And we talk about accommodations also with individuals that have a TBI. That lasts about an hour. It's very engaging and involved. Okay, so moving along to our next module that we want to highlight, it is entitled in the next slide, Taking the Emotion Out of Emotional Disabilities. This module, I can say, I think is probably our most requested module. It has really, the demand for it has increased a lot since COVID, because there has been an increase in mental health impairments and awareness in the workplace. And so this module helps those that are attending to recognize and understand that individuals with an emotional disability can effectively perform their job just like someone without an emotional disability. And during this training, we also help individuals talk about or try to determine some reasonable accommodations for someone with an emotional disability. But it's like anything else. An emotional impairment may affect each of us very differently, and ask that individual what will help them in the workplace to perform their job better. I put down that lasts about 40 minutes, but I think lately that module's lasted about a good hour or so. Again, it's one of our top requested, if not the top requested module that we present statewide. Okay, next slide. So the last module that we're going to highlight is called the calendar game. This one is really a module that we try not to present it virtually. It is very hands-on at the table with groups, so it's better presented in person, and it gives the attendees a chance to really figure out ways that that they can, I guess, successfully manage their staff and how to negotiate in the workplace to help with scheduling problems, because scheduling problems can happen at any place of business. But what we have learned is that a lot of times the individual with the disability is left out of that conversation, and they're kind of put wherever there's a empty spot, and not really asking and trying to figure out what best works for that individual. That module lasts about an hour, and like I said, we present it majority of the time in person, because it does require a lot of hands-on time together at the table with different teams. So that is the 12 modules. Like I said, we just gave you a brief snip of each of them. These modules are presented, they can be presented virtually or in person. We tailor it to the needs of that employer. And so all the employers are different. So sometimes we are presenting, like I mentioned, a Goodwill for a day, and other times we may be presenting for an hour or during a lunch and learn virtually. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so really Windmills is about challenging us, each of us, about our assumptions on disabilities. Now, the movie music within the movie trailer I showed you earlier, I love one point that was made during the movie, and so I like to bring it back up. And really it is that Windmills does teach us it's not about changing people with disabilities, it's about changing the way we see them. And together we can turn perspectives and open doors. And I can honestly say that since we have really picked up our game on presenting Windmills statewide, we are starting to see the door open a lot more for the clients that we are serving, because that perception is changing from a negative perception to shifting it to a more positive approach, and it really does build inclusion in the workplace. Next slide, please. I think we're right at the end of sharing about the overview of Windmills. And yes, so I'm going to pass things over again. I think I'm not for sure, but I think this presentation is going to be emailed out, so you'll have it available, and then I'll be available for Q&A in just a moment. So I'm going to pass things back over.
Thank you, Chrissy. This was really interesting to me, and I absolutely enjoyed hearing all of the information on Windmills. I actually learned a few new things about Windmills, which is really exciting. And I know it's been really successful for a lot of employers, including changing people's mindsets, which is absolutely fantastic. I want to also remind folks that we do have an event coming up. Project Spark is holding an employment resource fair. This is very exciting. It will be on September 9th from 9 to 4 at the Carolina Pines Community Center here in Raleigh. Please feel free to attend. Please feel free to reach out to the Project Spark representatives if you want more information on this. But there is also, I will tell you, there is also more information on the EIPD website if you want to go there and check. So we're really excited, and we hope as many people as possible can come to the Employment Resource Fair on September 9th. So thank you. And the next slide. We have another slide. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so wanted to make sure also that people knew, where Inclusion Works is going to be. So on August 28th, Inclusion Works is presenting new and additional training for EIPD counselors in the community to make sure the counselors are as up to date as possible with the work that Inclusion Works is doing. And we mention all these things because we really want to make sure that people understand how much Inclusion Works is actually doing to make sure that the work that we do is not just, you know, here and doing presentations and things, but that we're actually doing some boots on the ground work to make sure that we involve as much of the community as possible, including people who provide services. So that August 28th is going to be one of those events. September 17th is another event that we'll be doing for transition coordinators out in the community who are helping kids move from a school environment into an adult working environment. On September 18th, Inclusion Works will be presenting at the Administrator of Association of Rehab Facilities, NCARF. We're going to be presenting there on some of the updates that we have. So if you're a member of NCARF, if you're a provider of services and you'd like to attend NCARF, please come and see the presentation that Inclusion Works is going to do. We're pretty excited about a lot of our updates. NCARF is virtual this year, so more people will be able to join, and I think that will help a lot for people who couldn't physically be there in the past. AHEC is hosting a lunch and learn on Inclusion Works that will be available on September 24th. I'm really excited because I will actually be there talking to people in the public and talking to a lot of our tailored care manager and tailored plan members about the work that Inclusion Works is doing. So really excited to share those things with you. And the next slide, I don't know if there is one. Okay, so let's see if we have questions in the Q&A. And so far I don't see any, but please take a moment and let us know your questions. Anything that more you want to know about windmills or anything else Inclusion Works connected. Okay. Please remember too, that if you think of things later, you can always reach out to EIPD. You can reach out to me. My contact information is usually available on the slides. You can also reach out through the Inclusion Works website, through the EIPD website. Christy, I know, has supplied her contact information, and both myself and Adrian have contact information. So if you would like to contact Adrian Kittle from EIPD, you may also do that. Check out the Inclusion Works website. Lots going on there. It changes quite a bit. So I see that Connie has said the NCARF conference registration information is posted on the website. Thanks, Connie. That's super helpful. Anyone else? And those of you who are with us today who are part of the general Inclusion Works community, please feel free to share information about windmills whenever you want to. I think that's just a huge benefit that we want to make sure enough people know about that might not be connected to disability employment right now.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, as soon as we get your flyer out publicly for the encounter module, I'll send it over to you and you can distribute. That is a virtual public event in October.
Oh, I'm excited about that. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions. So I think at this point, I will hand it back to you, Dina, and we will see you again soon.
The recording and presentation slides for today's event will be posted on the Inclusion Works website. The link is included in the chat. There will be a brief survey following today's webinar, and we would appreciate your time completing it. The next Lunch and Learn will be on Wednesday, October 15th at noon, and we hope you will join us then. This concludes our webinar for today. Thank you for attending.